Dear ones, today I will comment on letter number 9. The letter from Sananda. So in relation to letter number 9, Sananda starts by explaining something that even today is very confused by many of you. Do not confuse the Christ energy with the Christianity religion. Remember the following. Sananda lived in Judea and continued until he was enlightened, the steps his family went through in relation to the religion of Judaism. He always felt that something there did not match what resonated in his heart, especially that punitive God who was taught by religion. So he was always very rebellious about it. After awakening in the desert, Sananda fully understood that it was all wrong, and tried to pass it on to people, to great leaders. But what about the great rulers? Very rare that ruler thinks about the people, has an interest in seeing the people improve. The vast majority of government officials only want to think about themselves, forgetting that there are people who depend on their decisions. So when Sananda begins to preach that there is no punishment, that there is no punitive God, that Judaism preached, the great rulers found this a very serious problem, for it was exactly through the statement that they controlled people. Every wrong thing that people did, God punished. Then they took the blame off their shoulders to throw it on God's back, a being that nobody knew, nobody saw, but that everyone knew of his power, the power that he had to punish. Because everything that went wrong was attributed to God's bad mood, to a divine punishment for something that humans had done, that those people had done. So Sananda's words were not well received, because it would end their power. It would end their way of controlling the people. So Sananda became a bad person, a person who was disturbing everything that those rulers maintained. If the people started to listen to Sananda, they would no longer be able to threaten people, to say that all that was divine punishment, since he preached a non-punitive God. Then everything ended up culminating in Sananda's death, because the interests were much greater than listening to that human being who called himself the Messiah, but that many preferred not to believe it and keep their own decisions, their own powers. And so Sananda was crucified. At this point, Sananda's words had been passed on to his disciples, which it is worth remembering that they were Jews and followed much of their own religion, which was Judaism. So when Sananda left, the vast majority of the disciples ended up changing their ideas, getting involved in everything that was said. Only Peter felt that he had a mission, which was to found a church that could worship those words that had been said by Sananda, by Jesus, as you knew him. And so it begins to be called religion, Christianity. However, it is worth remembering that many followed Sananda, many liked what he said, despite not understanding, being afraid, agreeing with what he said. His words touched their hearts. Then those who were touched, who lived with Sananda, started to attend This church, where the words that Sananda had left were repeated. The rulers, of course, noticed this movement. But as long as it did not affect them, everything was fine. However, we cannot forget that you were being manipulated already, at that time, by some dark ones. Even with the presence of Sananda on your planet, which was one of the first attempts to try to wake you up, to get you out of that yoke of atonement, the dark ones were already there. They already dominated the religion of Judaism. So why not also dominate Christianity? This new religion that was going to emerge? Of course, as I already said here, that Sananda's Christ energy flooded everyone's heart, regardless of religion. Because his energy was so powerful. Even though he was in a human body, his words, his thought forms created an egregore of light. So great that Christ consciousness was implanted in everyone's heart, regardless of religion. It is as if everyone has been contaminated by a disease, plus a disease of goodness, the disease of love, the disease of evolution. So even though Sananda was crucified, and his rulers supposedly thought they had silenced his voice was not silent, because this Christ consciousness implanted in every human heart reverberated and is still there today, 2020 years later. Very well, then Christianity is born. From the words of Jesus, from the stories of the disciples, who, as you know, each one who tells a story always adds something of his own. Then one would tell the other, who would contract for the other, and by the time it was written, it was almost misrepresented. So many today do not understand that the Bible was not written by Jesus. He did not dictate the Bible. It was written by his disciples and by other people who lived at the time. And of course, as there was already manipulation of the dark misrepresenting everything that was said, and keep you believing that God was still punitive, that God was punishing. If not, where would the control be? There would be no control. You would not accept reins from anyone, because you would know that you were powerful and that everything you did would come back against you. But not out of punishment, as a result of your actions. Then everything starts to be distorted. Representatives of that religion took hold of those ideas and began to put their own, according to their understanding, according to their will, to always keep their faithful in the halter, to keep their faithful manipulated. Because that's what religions do. They manipulate you totally. Many people wonder when a lot is said, but the vast majority put a blind faith in it, an absurd faith, and that if a religious leader reaches the point that you have to kill yourself in the name of God, you kill yourself, as it has happened in various parts of your planet. So, this is where it all starts, and your Bible is increasingly being modified. So let it be very clear for everyone here, it was not Jesus who wrote the Bible, his words were put there by men, due to the understanding that men had of what he spoke. Of course, there are many of the parables that Sananda said, many, but they were duly incorporated into a much larger text, so that the religious book you have today could be formed. So my brothers and sisters, I understand that for many of you, who were raised on the basis of this book, be it the Catholic religion, the Baptist, whatever, Protestant, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what name the sub-religion was given, the great religion is Christianity. And it happened in such a way that you managed to break this religion into many others, because each one understood the same book in different ways. Look how far you've come, how far men have come for manipulation. I will ask each of you a question. Where is it written that the men who run these religions were chosen by God? Where is that written? Humans choose them. Men do. There is no divine choice. There is no separation for our Father, Mother God. For our Mother, Father God, there is no religion. Religion is to love your nearly unconditionally. This is the religion that our Father, Mother God preaches. Not what is said around, with rules, with prohibitions, with a lot of things attributed to our Father, Mother God, that He didn't say. Then the figure of sin is instituted, that everything you do wrong is sin, and you will be punished. This is how they manage to keep society in line, where you have to respect God, because otherwise He will punish you. He will punish each one of you. So this was the idea put forward by men in all religions, or sub-religions, it doesn't matter. Keep them always attached to a concept of punishment. Here comes the concept of heaven and hell. And that many of you still believe that. It's my brothers, this is still a small tip of the iceberg, because if you stop to think, analyze, stop to think if this so-called religion that uses the Bible, Sananda's words as a base, why is it so rich? In whose name was this wealth made? In the name of our Father, Mother God? In the name of our Father, Mother God. He killed himself, because people who did not follow this religion were killed indiscriminately. So one more way to impose power. Whoever did not believe this was killed. And many were sacrificed in this way. People who had powers, over time, were burned at the stake. Because those people brought the truth. They brought the strength of nature, they brought all the power that their soul had. What your soul has, so they were a danger to that society, so it was demonic. So let's burn them at the stake. And so this religion has been maintained over time. Killing, judging, condemning, demanding a lot of things. Supposedly passed on by our Father, Mother God and Sananda. This is the most fragile part, it is the most beautiful part of the story, because there is still an uglier part, which I am not going to tell here. You will know, because that is part of the truths that will appear. And I'm not just going to talk about this religion, or these sub-religions of Christianity. I'm going to talk about the others too. who also kill in the name of a god. Supposedly, they offer guarantees of a paradise to those who commit murders, who commit attacks, who commit the death of many people. They will have a guaranteed place in paradise. Is there anything more absurd than that? Then our Father Mother God will be rejoiced, because there was an indiscriminate killing against those who did not believe in him, and everyone will be welcomed with open arms, even by him, in his heavenly room. My brothers, I can tell you that this causes. I will not say that I feel sick, because I have no physical body, but it causes a horrible sensation in each one of us beings of light. When we see a brother killing himself, killing others, believing in a paradise full of virgins, this is painful for us, in our form, even conscience. We feel, why, how did a religion get lost at this point? It is like a replica of the Crusades. If you analyze it, is the same thing. All those who were contrary to what was preached for a certain very important being who was placed up there, were killed. Just the same reasons are exactly the same. The promises are different. Because on this side of the west the promises were riches. Because there were looting, killing those simple beings who didn't believe in that, but who had a little gold, who had a little wealth. Was quite interesting to make the church richer and richer, and in the East the same thing. These religions, their rulers, are always very rich. Then many will say, but the churches were built. The people who put gold in the churches. Exactly, they put gold in the church to make them more beautiful so that God could see with better eyes. It was a bribe to our Father Mother God. I'm going to make a beautiful church, all full of gold for God to help me. Many think that everything that is happening now is punishment for all that you have done. I will repeat that phrase. Everything you plant, you harvest. There is still a majority here who still do not believe much in what is said here, who even read the letters of Christ, but does not accept, because it is so ingrained, so attached to their mind, that they cannot imagine that they have been deceived for so long. So, my brothers, the separateness of the great religions is not something divine, it never was. This was all very well handled by those who wanted power, who consequently were the manipulators of humanity, and there they are manipulating you today. All these leaders know exactly that we are acting. They know they are going to lose power any minute. They know that the truth will be revealed. Now it is worth commenting on an important point here. Yes, there were great leaders who decided all this. We are not going to be judges here to condemn those. In the same way you, before awakening, believed in all this. Many did not believe, because they were already evolved souls. But the vast majority believed in what was said. So we cannot simply condemn everyone who is there for what they are doing. They follow what they believe. I am not going to tell you that any and all representatives who stand in front of an audience preaching, are representatives of evil. I will not say this, because this is not true. He is there preaching what he believes, what has been passed on to him. He is very involved with that, so he preaches what he believes. So we're not going to judge and condemn anyone here for what they are doing. Many do not know what they are doing. Many strongly believe that what is written there is the truth. I already said here, who resonates with all this is because you are an evolved soul, so you are resonating with this whole process. That is why you never let yourself be carried away by what you heard, because you deep down in your soul know that this is all a lie, that it is a great manipulation. My brothers, all this was a great manipulation, with the intention of enrichment, never really thinking about the people. What matters the message of Sananda, or the message of Buddha, or the message of any other being of light who has been on earth, has always been one. Love your next like yourself. Don't do to another what you don't want to be done to you. So if each of you internalized these words, or rather if each of you had internalized those words, your world today would be different, because you would have expelled all this evil that has been going on in your world for a long time. But you have remained blind. Remember that I said some time ago that here it has become a planet of atonement. It became a planet where people had to really resonate with the third dimension, resonate with all those feelings that you resonate today. Only too much time has passed. You would have had to rebel, you would have had to rise up against it all, but power, wealth, control, has always been the master spring of your planet. For some to become extremely wealthy, no matter how poor their people remain. And this is still the case today. Many of you have just recently been following this new path. Go back in time and remember what you did before you woke up. You did a lot of things wrong. So do not think that you are superior in relation to the rest. Don't let that ego grow. You are awake, but you are still reaping everything you planted back there. Your harvest will come. You will still reap. First, because you have to get rid of this harvest. You are not going to push that dirt under the rug. You have to live with the dirt that you put in. And what comes around, you continue to receive everything that you have also done. You are also a co-participant in everything that is happening there. Have you always been aware of not throwing garbage on the floor? Have you always been aware of recycling? Have you always been conscious of loving Gaia? If any one of you says yes, I'll clap my hands. There are actually some of you who have always had this awareness, I will not deny it. But there are very few. The vast majority do not. The vast majority harmed Gaia all the time. After a while, you started to modify your actions and attitudes. Of course, there is always a time to start. The important thing is to start. Perfect, but you're still going to reap, my brothers, if you haven't already. With the acceleration of the energies, that are coming, the lessons are coming much faster. Correct the mistakes of the past. Do it with love, do it with will. Much that you believed was wrong had been written by man, not by our Father Mother God, not by Sananda, not by Buddha, not by Muhammad. Everything has been distorted. If you are ready to review everything you know, believe me, great. Jump to this side of the truth, and allow yourself to know the truth, then yes, you will be sure that you made the right decision. Because the truth always brings the best way. The truth always brings the light. And the light always brings the truth. Things are happening quickly. Thankfully, those who are awake are speeding up the process, and everything could happen tomorrow. So make a decision that you still have time to enter the path of evolution, so that you still have time to prepare. I am the Archangel Michael. I am here, always, trying to show you the truth. Peace be with you. Thank you for watching.